broadcasting the games when you really start to feel that blood pumping. In the bottom right here, put in the Alpha and Alpha X one more time. This is RagnaroK.
I've been saying Armani this entire time because I got two Zergs confused. RagnaroK, I am so sorry. You've been doing fantastic as well. As you mentioned, IEM Katowice was a breakout performance for him. And then I was like, you know what? Zergs all look alike. I'll admit it.
They do. They all got creeping hatcheries and drones. They look all the same to me.
In the top left, as the Red Terran, we have Bunny.
Right, his teammate SOS, unfortunately, going down to Dream. Or I guess, fortunately, if you're a fan of Terrans. And it's interesting to see what Bunny's got here in this game. He generally has a bit more of a aggressive style. He's also a bit more of an emotional player than RagnaroK, I've noticed. You even saw it on camera a little bit when he won that series, finally won that last map earlier yesterday. He just really felt it. And I love that energy. Bjorn and Bunny, very similar in that regard, really put their heart and soul into the video game and then put it out through, like, you know, their physical emotions when they're on camera. And actually, you know, when I think about IEM Katowice and Bjorn's last IEM Katowice before going to the military, that crushing moment when he was in the booth, I'm like, that's one of those beautiful esports moments. You know, like, a lot of people wanted to, you know, they're like, oh no, pull the camera away, and I'm like, no, this is what it's about. You know, it's the players, it's their career, it's their lives, it's a massive moment for them, and you gotta remember how much this means to everyone in this tournament, even in the early stages, the open brackets here. It's you don't get bigger than the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, that's for sure.
Yes, that's the reason it's been promoted to the main event, the main of the main events. Well, RagnaroK has really been an aggressive player throughout his entire career, and you talk about this a lot, casting in those online tournaments, and he's never really stopped, but he's got some considerable strength in the mid game as well when he can get there. Lightshade, I'm thinking about what RagnaroK could actually bring out. I always bring up that Roaches did at one point was like the only thing people are doing on this map. And then it did fall off a little bit more. But RagnaroK usually is a player who's going to try and get control of the game, not necessarily react. Yesterday we saw DRG really play so aggressive off of creep with Ling Baneling. That was a shock to me, and I feel like RagnaroK also would be the type of player who would utilize that, he'd practice with it. But we'll see what his plan is, as we are still in the developing section of TVZ. So not much to be said yet. 2 gases for Bunny means no quick third CC. That's about all we got.
Yeah, at the moment, a very, very ho-hum regular opening for both players. 1-1-1 for the Terran. He didn't delay the second gas, so as you mentioned, no fast third CC. And RagnaroK just playing pretty normally as well. You know, you were talking about how RagnaroK is a little bit more aggressive. He's one of those Zergs that I used to affectionately refer to as a roach boy. You know, like your Solars, Impact of the past. You know, guys that are just basically a second away from dropping a Roach Warren at any point in the series and just all-inning you. RagnaroK's changed a lot, though. I feel like he's more got the propensity to go towards Hive now these days. Of course, you know, Zergs have recently discovered that the Lurker with Hive Tech is quite good, no matter whether the Terran goes mech or bio. So RagnaroK definitely likes to get there if he can. I
like that you mentioned mech, as we have actually not seen it in quite some time in this matchup. But a couple of Terrans still bring it out just like as a big surprise, and that is cool to see. But yeah, it's very much so fallen out of favor. I mean, even starting back at last year's Katowice, we were all like wondering if mech was going to be the big deal, the big strategy, and then no one ever used it. So it's been a while. But Bunny is going for a very safe opener. Hellion Banshee on this map seems to still be what's safest for the Terrans. They can also add on that armory. As we saw yesterday, actually 2 Terrans, Thermal and Beyond, both went for the armory edition. So far, so good on the lack of armory. So yeah, definitely want to do some damage with the Banshees, but oftentimes it's more like a safety net. You know, if you're going to go roach me, I'm going to have some defenses. Early game roaches, defense. Mid game roaches, defense.
It is basically the safest thing you could possibly do to go to Banshees, but a lot of Terrans have it's fallen out of favor because, you know, that's resources you would rather have to the next phase of your plan. The Banshees are quite expensive, especially when you get Cloak as well. But, you know, there are some players, and I always think of innovation when I imagine just 2 Banshees with Cloak killing 20+ drones against professional level Zergs. So there's always that potential as Bunnies. But Hellion and Reaper Force move out here to try and get himself a little bit of map control against the Zerg, and deny a bit of creep here too.
That's all we're looking at right now, as RagnaroK not doing anything tricky, goes for Baneling Nest, starts up that lair. Not too quick, but still no evolution chambers, maybe actually going into a faster lair technology. Kind of put the vague lair technology because, well, Spire would be the first thing I am thinking of. We have seen more players experiment with Hydras on different maps. So we'll be waiting on that one. But Bunny wants to get a little bit of scouting, a little bit of drone roasting. Queen's actually literally forming a body wall there. Oh, but the Banshee finding some success.
Yeah, Banshee's getting some work done in the main base and the natural. She's working hard here for the Terran. And that Hellion roast was actually a line of about 3 drones as well, so 7 all up. That one Banshee hasn't got her sister in battle just yet as well. When those 2 Banshees join out, they can start one-shotting these workers, although this one is out of cloak energy and very, very low. So needs to be careful here with that low hit point. One, no!
That's going to go down. Oh, definitely should have gone to the 3rd. Oh, how is she not going to die? Yeah, okay, she does. That would have been amazing.
Zigged when she should have sagged there, but that's okay. The Hellion's still alive here, and as long as I feel like the Hellions are the more important part here. Obviously, the Banshee is the one that costs gas, but the Hellions are your map control. They're the way you keep the Zerg honest. You also can force them to make units instead of just droning non-stop. So they are definitely getting the work done here and just trying to push back the creep. Not really going to get close to the drones, though, as RagnaroK zones back these Hellions with those Lings on the high ground and does drop that Spire as you expected here, Zombie Grub, with that Lair Tech. Low hit point hatchery here. Where are them Lings at? He may get a cancel on this one. It's very, very low.
Even with a bunch of Lings, that's a very dangerous Hellion task force there. So RagnaroK, yeah, he doesn't want to cancel, but he also knows his Lings could be barbecued, and then he would lose the 4th base anyways. So it's a very careful dance.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough hit points on the hatchery now where it's starting to look safe, but I was definitely starting to sweat a little bit there for RagnaroK. Banshee just trying to do what she can do here. There's not a whole lot of purchase at the 3rd base, not a whole lot of room to breathe to get any more drone damage done, so just going to get rid of a bit of a creep. The Hellions do the same thing up here, a few more hit points off that 4th hatchery. Ling's getting a surround here, though. Oh, those Hellions, not slippery enough. The Ling's get a great surround, and finally RagnaroK erases those Hellions.
That is a bummer. Those Hellions can be so useful. Everyone points out they can be Hellbats on the front lines, and that's absolutely true, but they could also just stay behind and stop Ling run-bys from the Zergs who are a little more insistent on them. But RagnaroK has not set up any. He actually has a pretty good creep spread. He's got a lot of Lings, now forming in Banelings, and trying to get to those Mutas. So far, just responding to the attacks of his opponent. Not a lot of creep spread here, though, and that is a bit of a problem.
Certainly is. Hatchery also damaged from earlier thanks to those Hellions. And we got those 2 tanks being ferried in through the medevac first class here to the front door of that 4th base. Now RagnaroK is in a spot of bother here. Obviously, Baneling speed a little ways. Need to come down here and join in with all the Lings and get rid of this bio. He picks off the 4th. Now RagnaroK is going to get the cleanup on this army, but picking off the 4th is actually pretty huge, as long as Buddy doesn't take any counter damage.
Yeah, that's actually really hard to call. Bunny lost so much so quickly that the 4th base going down is something that RagnaroK absolutely has to worry about. But Bunny maybe also feeling a spike of panic as everything got cleaned up so successfully.
Wasn't for free.
Yes, definitely was not. But Bunny had a bit of a wall. He's got just enough Marines. A Woodamine even helping out. The muta count really not that impressive and only recently starting +1 for them anyways. They're going to get impressive though, Maynard. There's already 5 more on the way.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, I mean, as the dust settles, like, the Zerg's got a lot more army, but there's not a whole lot the Zerg can do with that just yet because the Terran is so entrenched at the moment. These mutas are basically the most mobile thing. Lings and Banelings could, of course, come a knocking later and maybe hit the SCV line at the 3rd base, which is always a little bit exposed here on Lightshade. But Bunny seems kind of sort of, foreseeing that play. He's got units in position, breaking off a medevac here to the north side where the mutas, I mean, who's catching who here? Looks like Bunny getting some hit points on that muta there. And he is going towards Drilling Claws and Thors, as you generally would here as Terran, to try and directly counter the Ling Bane muta comp.
We are seeing a big gap in that supply, one that is concerning for the Terran because it means that he's not going to be out on the map doing anything about the rest of the things that are happening. Not only is he falling behind in supply, but he's not clearing up creep and he's not scaring the Zerg away from either maxing out, or getting into some faster hive tech, which RagnaroK is not intent on, not yet anyway. Still playing around with Ling Bane, Ling Muta, starting up his own upgrades, which are a little behind Bunny. So Bunny still has that chance to, wait it out, defend well, and get to a 180, 200 supply with a 2-2 push. And it would still look pretty strong. It just is scary when you look at the map, and the creep is already midway on a short map, too. Could be even up to that 4th base soon enough.
Certainly. The Banshee's still alive from earlier. She comes forward. The Muta's looking for some hard targets here. They actually go for a turret and the Sense Tower and kill a tank. And another turret as well. Not bad damage there for the Mutas, considering none of them died. Great play there from RagnaroK. Good bit of damage, softening Bunny's defenses. Bunny's making a Cyclone right now, and I gotta feel that's a misclick. There's no reason to get a Cyclone at this point, as he keeps up the Marauder and the Marine count to try and handle the Ling Bane. It does seem like Bunny should be doing something here with 2-2, starting to get more presence on the map, because that creep spread's starting to get little nuts there in the middle.
Yes, it is. The top right still is, doable for certain if Bunny heads that direction. But, as soon as you choose a direction as a Terran, the Zerg player is often the one going to be like, well, just not going to take that engagement. And then they just revolve around to the other side of the map. So then maybe your bottom left's actually vulnerable. But as that is a planetary, it shouldn't be too vulnerable. And RagnaroK is not just like full on attack mode, sending waves of banelings to the middle of the map. He did actually add the infestation pit, and the hive is about halfway done. Also adding on that burrow, which was really fun to see from him yesterday, and he was actually very effective with it too. So I want to see some burrowed banelings.
Yeah, definitely those burrowed banes against Uthermal were absolutely massive. And it feels like an underutilized ability as well, and it just has the potential to be so game deciding. If not just finding a good bit of damage. The Banshee finally goes down. Both players are maxed out, so getting rid of that Cyclone, getting rid of that Banshee is fine here for Bunny. Oh, decent fight there and creep with that first wave of Banelings. Very good trade to start things off with. Of course, they are still both maxed. A lot more Zerg units on the map here. But Bunny is pressuring and forcing back a lot of creep. If he can grab that high ground and trench it and put up a nice pre-split, I can see a good fight here for the Terran.
Yeah, RagnaroK might be maxed out, but he's down 20 armor supply. Classic conundrum. Yeah, very good split. Marauder's still in the front line. Banelings do roll on through. Bunny's got a stim. He's already spread out, so just a matter of just pulling back little bits at a time. We're not really pulling back at all. The Banelings all on the line get slaughtered by that bio. The Lings finally coming forward.
Oh my
Might be able to clean this up, but man, a lot of Banelings went down for that.
Yeah, like, I mean, RagnaroK may get the cleanup here, but that was absolutely wonderful of a trade there for Bunny. Loses a Thor, loses some Widow Mines, but still a lot more alive, and he's continuing to make 11 Marines at a time here. He is a little bit behind in that army supply, so the lava has been fantastically produced here for RagnaroK as he gets that army supply looking a lot more convincing. The Ultra Cavern has just finished, so keep in mind that the Zerg army is still basically Lingbane muted until those Space Cows hit the field, but is ahead on those upgrades. Generally at this point, Terra will be on their way to 3-3, a little bit quicker than the Zerg, but RagnaroK really on top of those upgrades, able to afford not only that, but also Adrenal, plus to attack for the Mutas and Chitinous for the Ultras. So it just goes to show how untouched his economy has been this game.
Yeah, I mean, as much as the Banelings are going down single file, which is usually not ideal, RagnaroK just had so much to throw at Bunny, even with his drones being at a higher count. Actually, a little more even on that front right now, but right, the economy was really great for RagnaroK. He takes a fight that actually brings Bunny down to, like, it was like 150, 140 supply, makes Bunny stop trying to attack him, just goes back to defend his fifth base, and then has 3-3, Adrenal Glands, Chitinous Plating, Ultras. RagnaroK can do a lot of things, whereas Bunny, a little more limited right now. He did have to get his fifth base up and ready to defend itself as a planetary before he really, kicks into gear again.
Oh. Unfortunately for Bunny, hanging the scan when the turret finished, but we do have a massive attack here at the fourth base. Lots of Banelings from RagnaroK streaming on in, and Widowmine's nowhere to be seen. In fact, they're on the right side, busy with the Zerglings there, so the Banelings actually get to bust through it. A really huge pick off there for RagnaroK as he slows down the army of Bunny and actually finds some damage as well. Does actually keep most of the Lings and Banes alive, so neither player really losing a ton now that I consider that.
Yeah, fun. Well, as in, like, yeah, the Banelings sacrificed themselves, and that was the ton part. Oh, burrowed Banelings, always love it. But yeah, there was a ton of Banelings afforded to do that, and that's one of those ones that you do look at and go, like, I don't think that was worth it. Even though the Zerg player is on a good economy, Bunny's not too far behind. Although this Ling run by is very obnoxious, a good handling of it from Bunny, just enough units to defend, and then wait for that planetary to finish while he's attacking to the top right, at least clearing up the creep, but very much so respecting RagnaroK's army potential.
Certainly. Lots of Banelings still here from RagnaroK, able to keep that Baneling count up very high, and now Ultras are on the field as well. The target of RagnaroK is this 12 o'clock planetary, and I think that's enough Banelings to cut through it. Zombie Grub is indeed going to be busted. An easy takedown there from RagnaroK. I mean, this is costing RagnaroK a lot of money. He doesn't have a lot of minerals in the bank. He does still have a lot of gas, but he can afford to do this. He's just had the stronger economy for such a long time.
Yeah, it's kind of insane how many Banelings are being thrown into that. The first time, the fifth base is already done, or the sixth rather, and so it just transferred over, but now Bunny is back just on 4 bases, or not even, he's still being harassed, but a push to the bottom side, trying to do something, trying to find some revenge, is not very successful, gets surrounded, has to evacuate. Bunny's overall supply does not look bad at all. I'm like, where the heck is the army? Apparently you have one, but the situation, the pacing of this game feels very RagnaroK favored. Oh, there it goes.
It certainly does.
It disappeared.
Yeah, there it is. There it is, and there it goes. The army of RagnaroK getting through that bio ball, and he's not going to slow down. GG, RagnaroK taking game number 1 in this series. Yeah, it really felt like obviously a lot of that was basically the macro, the economy of the Zerg, able to trade inefficiently multiple times there, but punish the Terran for it, as the Terran just couldn't afford to go punch for punch. And unfortunately that means as a Terran you're not going to have the things that you want to have at that point, whether it be Liberators or Ghosts or whatever direction you want to go in. You can just have a high Marauder count and sometimes potentially do well in an army like that, but it's just, it's hard to be convincing at that point in the game. It felt like maybe RagnaroK got the reins of that game, maybe 10 minutes or so. Towards the, when you get towards that late game, it seemed like he had complete control and just refused to give it up. Bunny couldn't really get it back.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. It just felt like RagnaroK was constantly in control, just didn't really have to sweat too many details, and then had that strong economy to just throw, what was that, like 30 banelings each planetary, something along those lines, which isn't exactly a fantastic trade unless you can back it up with a Remax, and he absolutely did. At the same time, also cutting any potential counterattack from Bunny with his Remax, with his creep spread. So Bunny just felt, he looked like he couldn't do a darn thing. And someone's like, well, if he defends well enough, well, he never really did.
Yeah, I was starting to feel it when he had that really excellent push, or rather the really excellent trade against those banelings. It wasn't really an excellent push because he actually didn't get to do any damage to the infrastructure of the Zerg, but he traded really well with the army there. And I'm like, oh, damn, RagnaroK is actually just so rich. It doesn't seem to matter. He's able to, he's not missed a single inject, so kudos on the great macro, but he's just able to get that army back up to being close to max, like 20 supplied off max, which is just insane. RagnaroK looking incredibly clean in game number 1. So, if there's a tournament to take seriously and really level up, this will be the one.
Yeah, and it seems like it's a little bit of a magic touch. You brought it up last year. It was, they kind of give the story context. We weren't really expecting much from RagnaroK. Picked up by Alpha. Actually, I think it was on Storm at that point. But yeah, he's picked up by Alpha Alex recently. Yeah, and we were just kind of like, okay, we'll see what he can do. And then he really, really showed up, and we expected a big year from him. But we all know that that last year was weird for a lot of people. But RagnaroK always staying pretty, level amongst all the Korean pros. Apparently might just have one of those magic moments at Katowice. We do see that. We look past the tournaments over the years, and we're like, oh my god, this guy always does well at Montreal. This guy always does well in Poland. RagnaroK could be one of those guys, because that was a very impressive straight-up macro game.
Yeah, it certainly could be. It's one of those things where obviously this is a different IEM Katowice. We're not in the studio in Poland right now, but there is that magic about it. Like even I saw on Twitter, Euthermal said that he actually felt like for a second there that he was actually at the event just because of how serious this event's been taken. We are literally on floating space platforms right now, just to give you an idea of how serious this tournament's been taken on the production side. In the bottom right here, by the way, currently down the series. Oh, excuse me. We're jumping to the top. Don't worry about the bottom side, all right? The bottom side's a memory. And the top left here, currently up in the series, from Alpha X, this is RagnaroK.
In the bottom right is the red Terran for Team NV. He is Bunny.
Yes, ma'am, certainly is. I think that might be up there as one of my best intros ever.
Yeah, it's up there.
Happy with that one?
Right alongside the not realizing you said top left and it was definitely bottom right.
Yeah.
I do that a lot.
It's right up there.
Yep.
You know what I've done every now and then when it's like it's been a long day and you've been broadcasting for 5 hours or so and it's the middle of the night, which happens a lot in Australia. You're like, in the top right of Death Aura, and you're like, oh god, this map is top right.
Yeah.
So. Well, but the point is, we can't believe we've been hired, chat.
Yeah, right?
That's what we're trying to say, yeah.
Exactly.
People keep paying us to cast video games. We still can't believe we're getting away with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I merged 2 Zergs and made a new one, Bunny Armani. You don't know how to read maps. We're just the best they can bring.
Right, makes it tough for casting games and also getting through Europe. So, let's have a look at Death Aura here. This is a map where I feel like Terrans are... they don't usually pick this one in TVZ series. They'll prefer to be on your Oxides, your Pillars of Golds and whatnot. How do you feel about TVZ on this map in particular? I feel like it's one of those maps that if you can get to a certain spots here and there, it's quite good, but in the middle of the map, it can be very tough to take engagements.
Yes, the middle of the map be very complex. Like before you're taking an engagement and you're like, wait, but we're going around a bend, we're going through an acceleration zone. Like it's kind of a concavable area, but then suddenly it turns them over choke. it can be kind of weird taking the engagements. You don't usually want to, right? All of the Death Or engagements that we can think of that people are directing their attention to are more like on the left side of RagnaroK's would-be fourth, for instance, very common push for Terrans. So the middle of the map can be weird. So as such, moving to the middle of the map, if RagnaroK were to get into a similar position as last game where he has the creep spread, he has the economy, he has the map control, you know, Bunny could step out into the middle of this and actually see a Zerg army, because RagnaroK was in such control that, you know, wasn't as overly aggressive for the first 8-10 minutes, but then as soon as he was like, you know what, I can kill a planetary with 30 banelings, no problem, then he was just, you know, on the map all the time. That can be scary on this map, but it is our largest one, so I actually usually think more of like the left-right engagements that we see, where the Terran pushes to the left, but then has to do a drop to the right. Exactly what we saw from Bjorn yesterday versus DRG, in fact. That's what I think with Death Or in this matchup.
Yeah, Bjorn kind of putting a clinic on against DRG. That was an insane game, by the way. I can't believe how incredible both those players played. Like, I would not have actually felt bad if DRG or Bjorn won that game. So it was kind of a win-win and a lose-lose, depending on which player you like more, I guess. But they worked so hard and they fought so hard. Feels like there's been 3 or 4 times in this tournament so far that Bjorn's like been a second away, like a head's breadth away from being eliminated.
Yeah, a little bit closer than I think a lot of us were expecting, but he is still fighting, and his matchup's actually coming up really soon. We have an armory being thrown down for Bunny. So last game, very safe opener. This time, very aggressive.
Indeed, going to get those Hellbats up nice and early. And RagnaroK, time and time again, he's been trying, at least when he was playing Euthermal, he was opening with Overlord speed quite a bit, just to try and keep the Terran honest. He's cutting it this time, and that does mean that he's going to be left guessing. You know, you see 2 Marines this early, you're like, oh, this could be a BC build, it could be anything. This time it's actually going to be really early cloaked Widow Mines as a first wave, with, of course, Hellbats coming up later. So this is a little bit tricky and not something you see every TVZ, so this might catch RagnaroK with his pants down.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a distraction, hit with the left, hit with the right. And just overall really trying to catch him off guard. RagnaroK is getting a Baneling nest about halfway done. He might get some even cautionary Banelings. Spore Crawlers are being prepared. Medevac actually running right into a couple of Queens. More than a couple, quadruple Queens. Almost grabbing the Medevac. Widow Mines will still unload, but not going to get very many shots.
And there were already spores in production near the Widow Mines as well, so it feels like the Widow Mines aren't going to last too long. Oh, that spore just out of detection range. That one, not too bad. Gets rid of that Widow Mine in the natural. And I felt like this play from Bunny didn't really work out, but let's see if this next phase of the plan works out as the Marines come with the Hellbats and Banelings are being morphed, but not preemptively. This is a very tough army to dig out here for RagnaroK at the moment.
2 Queens already going down is nice enough for Bunny, but he wants more. The Queens now being controlled, have that room to maneuver. 1 Baneling collides in, but really doesn't do enough damage. I mean, Ling's trying to be made, but this is definitely lasting longer than RagnaroK would have wanted. Even more Hellions coming in and going right towards that third base. RagnaroK having to control in 2 different places, is struggling to micro everything to the best of his ability, is starting to lose even more Queens, but looks like finally everything will get cleaned up, and that Medevac barely going to be able to escape.
Medevac does get out of there. A lot of Hellions and Marines went down, but so did a lot of Zerg units. Would have loved to have seen the trades there, just have a good look at where things stand for both players. Because at the moment, it's kind of hard to tell. It seemed like both of them lost a fair bit. Keep in mind that this has also been a bit of an expensive opening for Bunny, while the armory is useful later. You can see that it actually probably was a little bit worth on the Terran side, just because of the extra gas loss. You know, the Medevac going down kind of stings from that Widow Mine drop there at the start. So the armory is going to be useful later. So when you get your 1-1 done, you get straight into 2-2. But opening with the armory that early, I mean, that's 100 gas. That's very, very expensive when you start the game. You know, especially for Terran at the start of the game. You want to be putting a lot in the minerals here to be able to get your Marines pumping your 3 barracks up, your 3rd TC, which is finally flooding out there for Bunny. Oh, we got a Spire going down here for RagnaroK as well. So once again, going the Lingbane Muta route.
Definitely right about Bunny investing into that, and right to question if that was really worth it. The 2 Queens dying immediately seemed like it was a good start, but Bunny RagnaroK did a good job of fanning out, you know, and using his Lings to surround the units when they also had to fan out because the Banelings were threatening them. So we see a lot of Zerg defenses happen. A lot of times when Zergs die to that type of stuff, it's because they were totally blindsided and all their Queens were like in the 3rd, you know, behind the mineral. So they're just trapped or something. But RagnaroK made the best of that scenario. Bunny now ready for the follow-up push. It's not a very large one. It's not actually very impressive at all, but he could just try and hop between the 4th and the main base, and at least try and get some of the details here. Some scout going down as well. He's got one tank fire in a way. It's a little bit threatening.
This is Bunny in a nutshell. He really doesn't want to give his opponent, no matter what the matchup, any breathing room. He wants to be in their face as often as possible. And I mean, he's starting to see, especially when those banelings morph, that there's a little bit too much zone on the dance floor to actually commit and get something done. Overlord, a nice glass half full situation there for Terran, getting a little bit of damage. Gets the Overlord, picks off a couple creep tumors, trades against the Lings, of course. But baneling speed is done, and that makes me very unconvinced that this Marine push is going to get a whole lot done here at the base. Certainly no cancel on that fourth.
No, at best, just stopping the creep spread, really, at this point. But Bunny's certainly not going to let go of it until he absolutely has to. A scan, I believe, just went down to the main base, so he knows that Mutas will be on the way. Maybe this time, so like last game, he got entirely cleaned up way too fast for I think any Terran to feel comfortable. Maybe this time I'm going to try and stay as long as possible until those Mutas are out, and then evacuate before they can actually jump on top of the medevacs. But this is lasting a lot longer than expected. RagnaroK going to try and come in with a surround.
Yeah, actually got a lot closer to getting that fourth than I thought he would have, but of course does get cleaned up in the end. The tanks get picked off. That tank putting in a lot of work there for Bunny, and also a lovely position there on the Mutas. The Lings and Banes can't come and intercept these Marines. The Mutas try, but don't want to lose any of those numbers. They are quite an expensive unit. RagnaroK sending them across the map. I don't know if RagnaroK's aware of how much Bunny is investing to this push on the fourth. That's a lot of Marines, and the tankers here as well. That fourth hatchery is in serious trouble at the moment.
That is a lot of Marines. Not a whole lot of splash, so they gotta be careful about the banelings. But it looks like RagnaroK maybe did underestimate how much is gonna come over to the left side. That hatchery is very low. It's gonna come in again to try and save the hatchery. Banelings looking for the connections, just shy of them for the most part. As that tank gets the last shot on the rest of the banelings, the Marines pretty much unscathed, just return to fighting on that fourth base.
Some banelings having more fear for RagnaroK. RagnaroK trying to buy time to get another wave of banelings out. Bunny's still got a pretty decent Marine count. Good target fire on that baneling on the right side. Bunny pressuring constantly over and over again at the fourth base, which is so tantalizingly low, but he can't quite break RagnaroK here, even with the denial of that creep spread. He had such a nice surface area to deal with because he's been pushing back that creep for the initial attack, but RagnaroK holds onto this very bruised hatchery and holds onto his economy as a result.
Yeah, that was really scary. I mean, Bunny was really trying to determine when he had to pick up from the first part of it. He saved so many Marines because of it, and that follow-up was just so many Marines, and without RagnaroK's upgrades as well, so it was really extra scary for him to actually hold on. But he does. His 1-1 is now done, but of course significantly behind. Basically 2 full upgrades behind as you look at that production tab. So RagnaroK's got some making up to do. The Mutas try to get something done, don't find a single thing. And it feels like Bunny is really taken away with this game.
Yeah, in game one, RagnaroK spiraling out of control, and this time it looks like the shoe is on the Terran foot here as he is starting to spiral out of control and really take control of this game. And he's not slowing down either. He's going to be in RagnaroK's face non-stop. A drop to the top right, looking for a drone line, potentially going to unload on the edge of the creep there or deny the fifth again. He's already done it once. He might try it again here. And once again, with that creep spread not looking super convincing at the fourth, Bunny bringing the most expensive part of his force here, the Marauders, the tanks, to try and get the job done. Can he do it this time?
It was very promising. RagnaroK's supply might not look that bad, but his upgrades are absolutely terrible. And his positioning also isn't really ideal. The run-by here is a much-needed attempt to do something to stop the momentum, but it doesn't find a single thing. Bunny had so many things back at home. And this attack on the front, it is still going on. It is still absolutely threatening. Even a Widowmine looking to pop off does get something done there, but the medevacs have to pick up as the behind backstab. That surround was pretty good from RagnaroK.
Yeah, good turn of events there for RagnaroK, just the last few seconds. That attack, that run-by at the fourth base of the Terran, swings back up from behind and surrounds the army with the banelings and lings from the fourth base on the high ground. So he actually found a good engagement there in the end and picked off the medevacs to the north side as well. This Widowmine almost off cooldown, not able to help out in the fight just yet. Scans ahead. Good split there from RagnaroK. Very good split from RagnaroK. Well done.
Yeah, that was a little too close for comfort. Bunny's going to continue hammering this point while also expanding over to the left side as that fifth base is just about finished. 3-3, of course, started up. RagnaroK maybe caught up a little bit, but because that hive is so far away, he didn't actually. He's going to find himself behind in a lot of these engagements. Creep started to come forward, but is cleaned up by Bunny. And Bunny even has a drop over to the right side, looking to stop RagnaroK from expanding elsewhere.
And Bunny just basically doing the same thing over and over again. Keeps pushing the fourth base where the creep isn't, and also continuously trying to drop the north right side of the map as well. RagnaroK going for a surround, but the Widowmine hits really nicely there on the Lings on the south. And the Baneling streaming on in, but without Lings to help and without the Mutas extra DPS, still a lot of Marines alive. Bunny may have found the good enough engagement here to finally get the fourth base.
Looking very good for Bunny as he finds a 5th base. That is an instant cancel. There's nothing RagnaroK can do about that, but he can at least try and dislodge this push over to the left side, which is exactly what he's doing. It's off creep, it's up a ramp. Good target fire in the medevac, sure, but that is actually nothing but mutas left over, and there are still a fair amount of Marines. Income more Ling and Baneling. It will be a cleanup, but that drop actually continued on into the 3rd base and is finding some damage there. Too much damage, in fact. Bunny is going to take game 2.
We have ourselves a series here, so let me grab 1 and 1, and we are done. This is a best of 5, of course. So plenty more maps ahead. Basically a best of 3 from here on out. A lovely action-packed game 2 there from Bunny. Basically taking his, putting on his RagnaroK suit from game 1 and trying on to see how it fits, and it fits all so well. He just consistently took his side of the map, did not allow the Zerg to do anything to his economy, and just pushed, would not give RagnaroK any breathing room to try and get up to Hive even. Like, he just wouldn't let him get there. Really good stuff from Bunny.
Yeah.
Going to take a short break. Oh, would you like to wrap that one up before we go to the break there, Zombie Grub?
It's okay,
No?
Maynard. You do your thing.
Excellent. We're going to take a short break. When we return, game 3 between Bunny and RagnaroK. We'll see you then. G'day, StarCraft fans. Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice 2021, the biggest tournament for the season of StarCraft 2, where we are only days away from having a world champion. I am Maynard. With me is Zombie Grub. We're about to get into Game 3 here between Bunny and RagnaroK, and I'm feeling this series already. This has been really fun. I actually feel like a lot of the times for the open brackets of Intel Extreme Masters, or honestly any tournament, the beginning of the tournament sometimes has some very one-sided, not so great series. But we've been really lucky with the mainstream here to have some absolute barn burners of series. Really, really close maps, and also just close score lines. So that's been fun. Do you concur, Dr. Zombie Grub?
I actually have no idea what you mean. Last year was amazing. Roddy and I got to cast like Nice Hurricane, which is like this amazing PvP.
Yeah, you did.
I got so many.
You got to cast all these things. You and
Yes.
Roddy keep getting good series. This one started off quite nice. I feel like, you know, we have this thing, so to let you guys know at home, Zombie Grub and I, we like to look for, we were good friends, we look forward to casting to each other, but every time we get a series together, for some reason it sucks. This one's looking good though. We're like fingers crossed, knock on wood, we hope that everything's going to be fine here. But whenever we get a series, like finally we get to cast together, it ends up being a complete 2-0 or 3-0 wash, and it's over in 10 minutes. And you're like, oh man, and then you get to cast with Roddy, and then, you know, the players just bring it for the StarCraft darling Rotterdam, which makes sense. You know, he's of course the greatest commentator of all time.
I think you found out why. Exactly why. It's the Roddy touch. It's Roddy magic. So
Roddy touch, yep.
exactly. But I do agree that this has been a fantastic match so far. It does still kind of feel like they're both kind of warping up though, right? Like one game was pretty RagnaroK favored, the other game was pretty Bunny favored, and you can only hope that means that by game 3 and onward, it means that they're both powered up to their full strength, and it's going to be a heated battle back and forth. It's actually totally even. That's what we love about TVZ, and that's what I hope they'll give us. Although I'm still sticking to the idea that RagnaroK will do at least one very aggressive all-in. Kind of cut that, but
yeah. I'm feeling you on that one. As much as RagnaroK's been more, you know, heading towards the hive tech and wanting to get there, it is still RagnaroK, and he still has the blood of the Roach Boy within him. And it feels weird to go through a whole best of 5 with at least one all-in for this fine gentleman. In the bottom left here, from Alpha X, this is RagnaroK.
in the top right for Team NV, he is the Red Terran Bunny.
We've seen what happens in Game 1 and Game 2 when each of these players get their way, if as it were. They have a plan, they get to unleash it upon their opponent, and it all goes accordingly. Neither of them have really gotten each other's, I guess, in each other's way and really upset things with something crazy. It's been pretty standard, apart from, I guess, the Hellbat attack there from Bunny, that early Drilling Claws attack. But it seems so ineffective that I kind of almost forgot about it, even though it was literally a game ago.
Yeah, the two Widow Mines really didn't add as much as they should have, and partially that was because the support crawlers were already prepared. If RagnaroK was trying to be really greedy and skip those, that would have been a nuisance that would have distracted him from responding as quickly as he did to the Hellbats, which wasn't even like the quickest he could have. As they pointed out, he lost those 2 queens. Still meant that he was able to focus entirely on that defense. So it actually seemed like it started out okay for RagnaroK, considering how limited his scouting was. But then Bunny actually was still able to do a very swift follow-up that kind of just felt like that was what caught RagnaroK just a little bit off guard. He was a little underprepared, didn't clean it up nearly as effectively as he did in the first game, and it snowballed from there in Bunny's favor. So I don't know if Bunny looked at that and was actually happy with the Hellbat push and is tempted to do another one. I actually kind of feel like, I don't know. I mean, it did take a long time to clean up. Maybe he does think that was a worthwhile opener, but I don't know if we're going to see it again. In fact, I'm actually kind of feeling a 3rd CC build at some point. But that factory is an awfully odd location.
Yeah, I mean, when you put the factory up there, that kind of means you don't want to open Hellions, right? Because you're not going to be switching it over with the add-on very easily if it's all the way up there. We might be reading into it too much, but you're quite right about that. This kind of seems like he wants to go a little bit more marine heavy here, at least at the start, and keep the factory for something else in mind. But of course, we'll keep an eye on that. As RagnaroK takes also an interesting expand pattern, going for the 3rd base right at the front there. I mean, it's obviously stylistic, some Zergs like that, but I feel like most of them tend to want to expand them on the edge of the map.
Oxide's kind of a difficult map in general for Zergs, is what we found out. Basically, it was kind of a meme at the beginning. Everyone was like, yep, Terran's going to win. Yep, Terran's going to win. And then a lot of the times they wouldn't, and it would ruin our narrative. But I think in general, the Zergs kind of feel like very constrained on this map. Like they have to play very defensive. So ways that they can set themselves up better for that, you know, however they feel comfortable, is really important. I guess that includes that expansion. So Bunny is doing something very weird. It's kind of weird when you do something off as a Terran in this matchup because it is seemingly so obvious, quote unquote, to the Zerg player. The Overlord dips in, or a Ling dips in and sees, well, your barracks is in a factory. What's this all doing on the front lines? And then they go, okay, something's weird. But the trick is they can't really know exactly what is weird. They can't exactly know if it's Marines and the Banshees, apparently. If it's another reactor somewhere back there actually producing Hellions as well. Like, they just don't know, it can be very, very tricky unless they get Overlord speed, which has kind of fallen out of the meta for a while. RagnaroK did get it, and he is getting it now, just not very quickly, much at all.
Yeah, pretty big investment in the early stage of the game, but I feel like it just takes a lot of question marks out of the video game when you get that extra 100 gas put into the Overlord speed. So many Marines here from Bunny, though. If they're in position, they could actually still pick off speed Overlords. And the build is running out. So with the third CC going down here at the front, Bunny's still playing quite macro, but with a lot of Marines here and a lot of Hellions, there's a potential nice push coming up later. He's going to have to rely pretty heavily, though, on these Banshees to basically be his what's happening on the Zerg side of the map army, because he can't really send these balls of unupgraded, non-Stimpack, non-Medivac supported Marines across the map without the Hellions as well.
Right, they wouldn't really do very much. But with the Hellions, they actually can pack quite a punch together. Overlord gets that Overlord speed in the nick of time. He's going to survive. Other one doesn't get in and see that follow-up. And is going to get a complete scout, which is actually really nice. I mean, you see those Marines move out like they did with the Banshee, and you're like, oh, is this really committed? Like, hold on. And you get into the main and see it's not so much. So it's kind of a ragtag group of units for the Terran. I don't think they can do a whole lot. If RagnaroK had over-defended, he had panicked, that might have been worth it. I hesitate to say that RagnaroK panicked, although he is supply blocked, and a very heavy one, too.
Yeah, that's a brutal one right there. He's just started up his Overlord in the last couple drones, but he is blocked for sure. Is waiting for that lair to come on up, the extra bit of lava to get that extra Overlord up, and the front door is open at the moment here for Bunny. Looks like some isolated Hellions on the left side there getting caught by RagnaroK just off stream, and also these Marines. Ooh, all of a sudden, just like that, wham, bam, and RagnaroK gets rid of the Terran presence on the map here, apart from these Banshees.
Yeah, I can't believe those Marines are still over there, but just caught in their way back home. Now the Lings try and go into the natural, don't find it. Banshees go into the main base, see the layer timing, and see a pretty proper defense. But since they're together, they can one-shot those drones. Not at that fourth base, that's for sure. Yeah, I think they would be wanting to go towards that fourth, but I don't think he knows about it.
Seems more concerned about getting these drone kills, and to be fair, they are looking pretty tasty here. 9 drones going down, potentially a 10th right there for that Banshee on the left side. And on the right side, that hurt and cloakless Banshee going to the right to try and save herself. Really good damage here from Bunny at the start, especially considering it's looking like he's actually going to keep these Banshees alive.
That's nice. That's very nice. Although they aren't the best thing against Ling Baneling, right? They still can be spotters for run-bys or spotters for like 5th and 6th bases. I would usually say 4th, but they're actually not spotting this 4th quite yet. It might be a bit of a surprise that RagnaroK chose to go for that one. But the Queen's over there. I think he's figured it out, and he might direct his attention, his first push, to that left side. But then it gets awkward. You know, I think a lot of Terrans going to be used to pushing with his Banshees, using those rocks, using the pillar. Now it's actually going through the middle of the map to the opposite, complete opposite side of the map. So Bunny's triangle third pattern doesn't actually get him over to RagnaroK's 4th as fast as he usually would.
Yeah, you're quite right. The Zerg usually wants to expand away from the Terran, and the way that both players are lining up their infrastructure, they are indeed keeping away from the Terran. Bunny loads up these 2 tanks in the medevac here just to get to the front door quickly and reinforce this push. Bunny really liking to make sure that his tanks ride first class. They'll never have to walk to any location until later in the game. RagnaroK out on the map, though, with a lot of Lings.
Yeah, not gonna
he needs to worry about these Lings first.
Yep. Kind of deals with them. The Lings also do the scouting, trying to prepare. Baneling speed is not done, but I think he'll be able to buy like 15 seconds. Exactly how much he's got to buy. Upgrade's done for Bunnies. The 1-1 once again kicks in. This was a very powerful push last game. Really helped him win the overall game. Let's see if they can do the same thing.
RagnaroK trying to set up a multi-prong attack here on the right side and the left. Tanks are exposed. Some Banelings there just in case the Marines come on in. Oh, that's a lot of Zerg. This should be an easy cleanup for RagnaroK.
Very nicely done. This time around, absolutely no Mutas. So they didn't get a chance to clean those medevacs up. They didn't get a chance to try and chase them down. And instead, we have the medevacs live, unload, and might even be able to slip back into that fourth base if they're really cheeky. But we also have Hydralisks. So RagnaroK bringing out that other layer tech that you can use. And I'd love to see some lurkers too. He does have burrow, which lurkers don't need, but I mean like lurker harassment plus burrowed banelings plus burrowed lings around the map. Like, that could actually be a lot to deal with. I am very interested in what RagnaroK does once he's cleared things up. These Banshees still being a real hassle.
Yeah, they've been very annoying. 6 more drones going down here. These Banshees have actually been able to get at least the first big, like the early game to mid game. These Banshees have really been the MVPs for Bunny so far. At the moment, he's trying to get rid of this Zerg force, small Zerg army here at the potential fourth base of Bunny. Marine's going to kill a few of them there on the way out, but of course, what he's going to do right now is grab all his Marines with the Widow Mines and try and trade there and do more damage to the Zerg. Oh, I like this triple medevac load up as well. Bunny normally loading up only a couple medevacs, but is actually going to put a lot of army supply on both the left and the right, almost kind of just cutting his army in half here. Not leaving a ton at home, though. A little bit worried about that.
That is kind of the scary thing, so he even witnesses that. I mean, the Banshees are there, but like I said, not too great at dealing with Lings. At least they can help. This drop will have to be cleaned up, but Bunny might have noticed the lack of mutas from the first engagement, right? And thought, okay, it's a mutaless. He has now seen the Hydras, so we saw it with the Banshees as well. So, you know, obviously Hydras shoot up. They're decent anti-air. They can kind of chase when they have that speed on creep. But it is still an opportunity for Bunny to try and get drops to the left, to the right, and then maybe eventually a push up the middle.
Yeah, you usually want to get out of Widow Mines and into tanks here against Lurkers as well, or against the Hydras rather. Ooh. Oh, good target fire there from Bunny. Very nicely done. Keeps most of those Marines alive as well. And on the left side, he's going to use this opportunity to try and pounce on that 9 o'clock hatchery. RagnaroK reading him like a book though. Hydras, Lings, and Banes in position to force it back. Doesn't actually kill anything though, so that's a plus side for Bunny.
So beautiful play from RagnaroK, also identifying what Bunny's plan was going to be and having everything properly positioned, not only protecting the base, but also protecting his creep spread, which continues to go forward and safeguard his hatcheries. So nice position for both players. Bunny happily on 2-2 with his fourth as a planetary, expanding on location for his fifth. Not usually done versus this matchup, but it is. An engagement actually happening all of a sudden. Bunny does siege his tanks, but a little bit late, but the concave off of creep should be good enough, and it is.
It certainly is. He takes a very good fight there. It looked a little dangerous for him, but with the Banelings getting cleaned up, there really isn't a whole lot left here for RagnaroK to convincingly take a fight against this much bio. And Bunny, when you trade that well, you want to try and make something happen, and he's going to use this opportunity, this breathing room, to get across the map and siege up this base here on the bottom right for RagnaroK. Still a lot of Marauders alive as well to soak up this Banes. The Banshee's still alive, at least one of them is from earlier. In comes the Lings and Banelings. Does RagnaroK have a flank set up? No, he's coming in from one angle. Bunny can potentially take the fight here, and he does.
A very good fight indeed. RagnaroK going to, I think he actually regrets the first engagement and that one as well, but he needed this fifth base. He read the attack wrong, read the defense wrong, whatever you want to put it. He looks like he's going to lose this game unless the Banelings pop at the exact right moment. Bunny is a little bit shy about jumping on top of them. He's going to start pre-splitting, realizing they are about to finish. Now target firing them down individually. The Marauders take most of them. The Marines are pulled back as Bunny is going to probably split to not victory, but to a very successful engagement. He is still up 30 supply with his own 5 bases, properly protected sensor towers on top of him as well. This is a very good game for Bunny.
Exactly, like RagnaroK didn't die just there, but he may still in the next few seconds as Bunny has a huge army supply lead, 81 against the 46 here. He's got his 2 upgrades on the floor, and these Banelings need to be here yesterday. Bunny bringing in the medevacs, bringing in the tanks as well, and with these tanks, I don't see RagnaroK taking this fight. I don't see him keeping an eye and keeping alive this base here on the Bass outside. GG, Bunny taking the lead in the series there, 2-1. 1 map away from victory.
I think what happened there was that, you know, there was kind of technically creep spread in front of that 5th base, but it wasn't actually from the 5th base. It was from the natural kind of skirting upwards. So RagnaroK was like, I'll take the engagement offensively. I am maxed out. I have, you know, my own large army. I'm going to kind of surprise him when it is still kind of on my creep with that high ground ramp. And the Terrans usually pretty surprised by that. They're like, wait, you're not supposed to attack me. I'm clearing up your creep. But it didn't really work out that well. Despite the tanks being late to the siege, they still tanked literally tanked a lot of the banelings, and the fan off of Creep was still too good with the bio. So I think that's where it really, really went wrong. And I think even RagnaroK would be like, oh, it's not what I wanted. And was probably one of those, what's the word? Like, he was already so invested into defending his fifth base. He was like, okay, I gotta continue defending it, but maybe giving it up would have given him another chance. It still wasn't looking like a very good game for him. Good push from Bunny, over eagerness from RagnaroK, and we now have Bunny up 2-1.
We do. RagnaroK needs to get 2 in a row here to win this series. Looking good for the Terrans so far. We're going to take a short break. When we return, game number 4 between Bunny and RagnaroK. We'll see you then. G'day, StarCraft fans. Welcome back. We're in the midst of Bunny versus RagnaroK here with a Terran on match point. Currently a 2-1 scoreboard here for Bunny. DG, we're about to jump into map number 4 here. It's going to be Romanticide. Do you believe in RagnaroK's ability to fight back here?
I absolutely do. He definitely showcased some good ZVT in general. And as I was trying to point out the last game, it just felt like it was one of those he was not in a great position because he wasn't comfortably to hive, sure, but if he had played it a bit safer, a bit more closer to the chest, closer to the vest, he would have not taken such a dedicated fight on that ramp, realized it went poorly, and then had to take a second desperate fight around his fifth. It would have been a little bit more of a, okay, I'll take my tiny L right now and hopefully get the big W later. Well, it didn't end up going that way. So I think RagnaroK actually has it in him for sure to bring it to game number 5, but it is up to him to do so as we move on to Romanticide. He is in the bottom right for Team Alpha X. He's RagnaroK.
And at the top left here from Team NV, currently on match point, looking to close it out. This is Bunny.
It is worth noting that RagnaroK, well, I didn't think he over-defended. Perhaps was kind of caught in a situation that anyone might find themselves in StarCraft 2, where you're like, okay, what's this guy doing? What's this guy doing? What's happening? What's going on? What's going on? And then you just realize you didn't build an Overlord, which, for us doesn't really matter so much, but for these top professionals to literally be supply blocked, like at 74 out of 74, and then start an Overlord is actually really devastating and really feels bad, because then you notice it and then you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I did that. And then you keep on doing mistakes. It didn't really impact the game at that moment, of course, but just that I think Bunny, his opening was a success in the mind game way. Perhaps it did make RagnaroK double guess everything he did for 30 seconds.
Yeah, it was another one of those games, kind of similar to game 2, where it felt like he was on the back foot and didn't get any breathing room. Like, Bunny really kind of put an in-game chokehold, as it were, on RagnaroK, not really letting him get back up onto his feet to try and stabilize. And that, I feel like, even compared to game 2, game 3 was even more convincing for Bunny, as he kind of closed it out quicker in an earlier fashion there, not even letting RagnaroK get anywhere near to even sniff Hive Tech. Like, he just wouldn't even have the room to get a Lurker down. It was straight Lingbane Hydra.
And I wonder if that was going to be his plan for an extended period of time. It generally isn't, but I mean, we've seen some people try and take longer games with Lingbane Hydra and take some good engagements and actually push off that Lurker Den, where we see, some of the Europeans, for instance, actually go like Hydralus Den. As soon as that's done, Lurker Den immediately. So I don't know. I would have loved to seen RagnaroK try and play with that style, but we did not get to see it. Bunny was a little too fast in the attack. RagnaroK thought he could kind of nip it in the bud, and it did not work out. So he's got to recalculate further engagements. Romanticide, pretty different from our last map, indeed. So, I mean, I can see, like, there's one thing you have to pay attention to in particular in this matchup on this map, and that's the rocks around RagnaroK's 4th base. Sometimes Zerg's 3rd, and he apparently doesn't do that. It's too aggressive, perhaps.
Unfortunate drone transfer here from RagnaroK as well, as a few workers aren't mining, and one of them even died there because it had no creep to save itself to that Reaper. Getting drone kills at this level of StarCraft is actually quite rare, so there's a nice little edge there for Bunny at the start of the game as he starts to round out his 1-1-1 build, getting extra gas in the natural as well, so going for the fast 3rd CC. And you were looking for this build order, ZG. You were like, gotta be one of these maps, the fast 3rd CC, and it's finally in this one.
Oh. My predictions, somewhat correct. I still have predicted RagnaroK to all in, and so far, not a 1. He is actually really believing in his macro.
Yeah, haven't seen a single Roach Warren in the series so far.
What is
insane?
This?
What is this? This isn't RagnaroK.
Exactly. No, actually, it's always funny being like known as an all-in player, because I don't think it's inaccurate. Like, generally Korean Zergs, if we think of all of them, Rogue, Dark, Su, and RagnaroK, like, I think aggressive for all of them at any given point. So it's not like we're totally inaccurate here, but RagnaroK actually not wanting to play that style, perhaps it is too on the nose. Perhaps he's actually been practicing so hard with his macro game, he really has a lot of confidence in it. But yeah, I'm still kind of intrigued by his 3rd placement. I really thought this would be a forward place one. Not so much. That means the creep's probably going to take a little while to actually encompass that rock formation in the middle. So that's where Bunny usually would be trying to hit exactly there. And it's kind of up to the Zergs to either stop that from happening, again, try and nip it in the bud, or to break down the rocks before the attack happens.
Yeah. To talk about Bunny here for a second as well, he's going for a very similar build order to what Uthermal went versus Armani, and that is to try and go for a quick Liberator out of that starport. So this map, Romanticide, actually has some great dead space area between the, I guess, the natural and sort of that 2 o'clock base location on the right side of the map to really harass the natural and not get picked off by Zerg units. Same deal to the south side of the third base as well. Very hard to actually pick off the Liberator if it unsieges and pulls back to that dead space. So the Liberator can be very effective and very annoying against Zerg this early in the game.
It was a fake Viking, was it? Trying to fake him out, and as he was actually building from the starport when he wasn't. I think so. Anyways, the Hellions are in here. They are being properly blocked by the Queens, but then the Queens aren't here. Swarcrawler does move pretty quickly. Queen dodges out of the way, and so far so good for RagnaroK.
Yeah, he forces back the Liberator. It's amazing to see such a YOLO siege there from Bunny right on top of the natural of the hatchery and expecting it to work. I mean, to be fair, he hasn't lost the Liberator yet, and these Hellions are still alive, dancing around, picking off Lings here and there. Sticking around a little bit too long with his Queens, though.
Getting what he can with this opener, as obviously it's not actually super aggressive. He's just trying to get anything done to RagnaroK while he sets up his 3CC. And not only that, but is also, playing hopscotch with his add-ons. He wants the reactors to get all these, to get onto the barracks as fast as possible and not really focus too much on the factory starport portion like you would in some other builds, like a Hellion Banshee opener. So 1-1's will get started up. Stim's already done. Combat shields are here. 2 barracks already. The 4th and 5th, rather, already almost done. And this is where it can be very powerful. And I'm really quite worried for RagnaroK, actually, when it comes to these rock formations. I feel like sometimes I'm a broken record, but so far, it's been kind of accurate whenever I am. I'm like, rocks, rocks, rocks. And the Zerg player's like, I don't know, it's going to be okay. And I'm like, rocks. And the Terran player's like, yeah, hell yeah, rocks. And they actually win. That's the sum of most of the games.
What a sentence. I love it. We do have the Hellions pulling back here. The Ling sees them returning back, so RagnaroK knows he's got a little bit of room to breathe. We get a round of drones out next here with that lava. He's actually getting double hatchery here, so macro hatchery is going to be at that third base, actually, as he gets his 4th up on the low ground. He's working on the rocks, Zombie Grub.
Rocks, Maynard. Rocks.
Rocks. Like that Aliens meme with the guy with the crazy hair. He's putting our hands out in front of us. It's like, rocks.
Yes.
How to get rid of it.
Exactly. It's super important. And he does do it pretty much at the exact time that he needed to, as Bunny is pretty much ready to go. He is sending units over to the right, so that's the way he's going to be rallying in as well. So, I mean, he's actually going to hit to the actual right side of the pillar as well. So the rocks weren't... He probably predicted they were going to be broken down, right? So he's going into what even could be a 5th base in the future and attacking from that direction.
Oh, Bunny has come through, and honestly, with the Hellions still being alive and with the armory finishing up, he has potential of getting some Hellbats in this push, although RagnaroK looks like he's about to pounce here to the north side. The Baneling's taking a shot from that tank. Actually, good target fire there from Bunny on those Banelings. Oh, man, this flank from RagnaroK kind of bit him in the butt there. Didn't really work out for him at all. Yeah,
it was very awkward, in fact. Like the off creep, obviously, but also was slow. Banelings trying to waddle their way in, not properly protected, was an easy focus fire from the tank right there. As long as Bunny was paying attention, which he was, still has Hellbats available as well to try and help against one of the Lings. Mostly Lings at this point. Tank, once again, shooting on top of the Banelings absolutely perfectly. But there's enough Zerg to clean this up. The supplies don't really look so great for RagnaroK right now.
Yeah, Bunny broke off the Marines to just dive into the natural here. Very bruised Marines, though, so they do have to get out of there. That medevac is just, a sharp sneeze and that thing would explode, but it is still alive. And Bunny loading up 2 more here to reinforce. This is the Bunny we know and love. Smells weakness, smells blood in the water, and like a shark will pounce and get on top of a wounded Zerg. He's going to just keep sending more and more bio units across the map, not giving the Zerg any room to breathe and no room for a run by either.
Bunny's also up 6 workers, which is not what you want to be saying. The Zerg player should be the one on 80 drones, being able to max out and Ling Baneling as quick as possible. He's got to dislodge this once again. That tank in that nasty position, getting a couple of shots on the Banelings. I think it'll be enough for RagnaroK again to help clean things up, keeping that supply only about a 20 difference, which is totally manageable for the Zerg. And that was good. That was actually fine.
Yeah, well, Bunny, weirdly enough, getting a tank into the main base of the Zerg here is actually kind of trying to hit that third. But, I mean, the thing is, you bring a tank into the main of the Zerg, it's very, very hard to save if the Ling's get a surround on it. So it seems like a bit of a weird move there from Bunny. But obviously, he can afford to do it. He is still up in supply, still up in workers as well. RagnaroK certainly against the ropes still, even after cleaning up the tank, getting that medevac and taking it down, as Bunny continues to send more units through the middle of the map where there isn't that much creep spread.
Yeah, he's not really getting super advanced notice of this, and he's trying to get a 5th base. It's also not really going to be protected. That 4th base is low as Bunny just sends Marines to the middle of the map, going to try and get on top of it. There's literally one Baneling available, and his focus fire down. Nicely done by Bunny. The Lings trying to get the best around with their upgrades, finishing a tiny bit faster than the Terrans, but it's Marines and Medivacs. You know, Lings are always going to struggle against that.
Yeah, it feels like with these Banelings being woefully low in supply, RagnaroK's gonna have a tough time. Oh no, he dragged the mine back into his Zerglings. A bit of a grin there for RagnaroK as he realized he done goofed. Oh no, Bunny feels like he's on the precipice here, Zombie Grub. His army supply is looking like it's skyrocketing.
Yeah, and RagnaroK was trying to go straight into a hive. He has not done a good enough job at stopping the momentum of Bunny. There was one decent engagement where it seemed like things even out, but Bunny continued to harass, continued to distract, and just continued to hammer in on this 4th base. And RagnaroK is very close to buckling, but still holding strong so far. A lot of Bunny's supply, I suppose, in some of those Medivacs, but they're not dying anytime soon, so they still are absolutely a help.
Yeah, and they're providing plenty of healthcare here for these Marines and Marauders. A drop in the main base even from Bunny, which does get cleaned up. If this hatchery falls, so will RagnaroK, and that means that Bunny will be winning this series. RagnaroK trying to hold on here. He's hanging on by his nails, bringing in the Lings and Banelings, but still so little crate to work with. Bunny still reinforcing with more bio straight through the middle of the map, just going for the stim for the win. And that's just too much Terran Zombie Grub. Looks like Bunny's got it. He knows. He's sitting forward in his chair, just seconds away from victory here, and there it is. Bunny will qualify and move on to the round of 24.
Excellent work. I love seeing how happy he is about it, man. Jeez.